Hello and welcome back to Art by the Lake. Today we have another interesting big pour in mind. We're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colors counting white. A predominantly white background. We're running the time lapse as well. So if you hear the beeping in the background, that's just our time lapse camera. We like to time lapse every video from beginning to end. So if you really want to see it quickly, you can. So today, let me run down the colors. We have white, and that's a blend of a couple different whites that I use. There's no silicone or anything else in that. It is just 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and 1 part distilled water. Our next color that you see here is yellow oxide. That's a Liquitex product. After that, we have another Liquitex Basics. That's unbleached titanium. That's this one. After that, we have another Liquitex Basics. That is raw umber. That's this one. After that, this one is a Flow Acrylic from Artist Loft, and the color is metallic gold. That's this one. After that, we have an Americana Deco Art product, dark chocolate. That's this one. And finally, we have another Americana Deco Art, and this is called Scorching Yellow. That's this last one down here, Scorching Yellow. We're going to do a large dirty pour. You know I like doing those. We're going to do a little bit of a swirl, so you'll see how that goes. Remember, when you're doing some of these pours, it's the first color that goes into the cup is the last color that comes out. And so I've kind of put mine in sequence. I kind of like this really cool bright yellow. I want that to come out in the center, so I'm going to have that go into the pouring cup first, which means it will pour out last. I have a 12 by 16 inch stretched canvas. I have wet it and dried it and wet it and dried it about 3 times. I have push pins in the back in the 4 corners. I have painted the edges with white, and that's just so that the edges have some color. You'll see the first thing I'm going to do before I start mixing is I'm going to pour some white on the canvas. So we'll get that all around the edges here. That way our corners have some paint and we're not struggling and tipping and losing a lot of paint just to get the paint into the corners. So we'll give this white one last little mix and we'll start pouring. Of my colors, I should mention that this brown and this yellow have silicone dimethicone in them. The other colors have regular silicone in them. Silicone dimethicone is a thicker syrupy product that helps with cells. The regular silicone is in the other colors. There's nothing in white. I kind of like to leave white just as is. So I'm going to get some paint on here just to help get things moving. And I'm going to, I normally use a trowel kind of thing. Today I'm just going to move it around with a little bit with a 1-inch brush just to get some paint out here. And I think this sometimes is just a little bit easier to control than the trowel. So we're going to do that. So you don't have to be too fancy here. This is really just getting some fluid on the canvas to get things moving. You'll see I'll put some down the very center as well. This just helps the paint pour, helps keep the paint fluid, helps keep the paint moving. So we'll pour some down the middle here. And that's just to, again, help keep things moving. When the canvas is dry, the paint sticks a little bit more and doesn't flow quite as nicely. So, okay, there's that. You can go around and touch up the edges if you want. Not terribly important now because there are going to be a lot of colors flowing off the edges. So we'll park this brush out of the way. Again, remember, last in, first out. So we're going to pour gently. You've seen me do this before if you've watched my other videos. I don't set a lot aside, so we're going to use most of the paint that I have here. Sometimes I'll leave a little dribble in each cup. This brown that has the dimethicone in it, I think I'm going to use that twice. So again, you see that I'm pouring gently here. I want it to ride on top a bit. And I'll move that over here so it's a little easier to see. So there goes a lot of the brown in. Here goes our gold. If you've watched before, you'll know I pour these just below the spout so that they sort of come out in the same area and direction that they go in. Metallic colors are always interesting. We'll see how this one works and pour a little bit more of that in there. They always behave a little bit differently as far as specific gravity and how they sink or float. You can see this one is really lumpy. Not sure I'm in love with that, and we'll see how it comes out, but we'll go easy on that one because I'm not crazy about the paint texture on that one. Now the unbleached titanium. I go contrasting colors here, so you can see I go light, dark, back and forth. Sometimes that helps, sometimes it doesn't. I poured about half an ounce of Floetrol, a quarter ounce of paint, quarter ounce of distilled water in each of these, except the one brown that I mixed. I doubled that. So you'll see how much we end up with here. It's just an estimate. I want to have enough paint to cover the canvas without wasting a whole lot of paint. I don't mind wasting paint. I just don't like buying paint. I'm sure you've heard me say that before. Let's go with this brown instead. I'm going to avoid the lumpy brown for now. We'll see how that comes out. I'm going to finish with white because that's sort of our base, and since that goes in last, it will come out first, and since it comes out first, it will be pushed toward the edges where we are looking at predominantly white anyway. So after I get this little bit of white in here, we will start the pour. I'm going to do a swirl pour, as I mentioned. So I'm going to switch hands just for a little bit of control. You'll find that this really takes its toll on your muscles. So let's get it going, see what we get. I'm going to pour slowly. And you'll find that by the time you reach the end of this pour, your right arm and your back will be well aware of how long you've slowly poured this paint, because it gets heavy and it gets to be strenuous. So I typically hold my breath through this portion of the pour because you just never know what's going to happen. You can see we're sort of predominantly getting some golds, not a lot of the heavy browns yet. We seem to be hitting that sort of lumpy chocolate burnt umber kind of color I hit. Yep, I'm seeing some of the lumpiness come out now. Sometimes colors just don't behave well with Floetrol, or they don't like to be blended with water. And we're beyond the point of no return, but I will make note for future paintings that the one color that I used here, that burnt umber or raw umber, I forget which it was right now, and I can't look. I'll make note of not using that again. So you can see some of the lumps. We're starting to get down to the bright yellow, and we should be getting down to that chocolate brown as well with some of the silicone dimethicone. Got a pretty interesting spread on the edges, if you can see. A lot of this fluorescent yellow is coming out, the neon yellow, which I like. I don't see a lot of that original brown that I was kind of hoping for, that I mixed twice as much of, but sometimes that's how it goes. That's what I like about these paintings, and if you're watching this, you probably like the random and chaotic nature of the results, like I do. If you enjoy watching these, come back again to our YouTube channel. We are Art by the Lake. Subscribe, we like that. We don't have a lot of subscribers. We're just sort of moving everything over to YouTube. So subscribe. If you like what you see, I do sell these paintings. I do custom work as well. I'm on Etsy and eBay. Both of those are Art by the Lake as well. And you can certainly email me at any time. I am artbythelake@gmail.com. So we're still flowing here. This is about the right amount of paint, I think. We'll see. We're getting down to the drips now. And what I like with this old school Pyrex is, you probably can't see it, but as you get down near the bottom, the paint really adheres to one or two little spots on it and makes for a really clean break. I'm going to try to get just a little bit more to come out of here. And then we'll hit it with the torch, and perhaps we will tilt a little bit. I want to see what it's going to do first. Okay. So let's see what the torch does for us. We can wake up some of these cells. If you're interested in following along, and we think you're interested in doing this for yourself, you can get a list of the products I use on my YouTube page. I try to include that and paste it into every video. It's just below the video itself in the description. So the torch is waking up some of these cells. I'm going to add a little bit more white around the edges here. Especially out in here. It's always hard to figure out exactly how much paint to make. In this case, a few more ounces of white probably would have been very helpful, but I think we're going to do some tilting here, possibly. I'm also going to get the brush and work some of this white around. The beep you hear is our time-lapse camera going. I think you probably just heard that. If you're ever curious about, we switch up the rig here quite a bit to try to get the best results. If you're ever curious about what cameras I use or what lighting I use, you can certainly email me at artbythelake@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to describe it to you. Most people really aren't interested in that as much, but if you're a photography and camera guy like me, you may be interested in that. So I'm just trying to even out the white a little bit. Based on what's going on out here in this area where I'm brushing now, I think I may do some tilt, get some paint to move in that direction if I can. I'll see if I can get the last little dribbles of white out of here. But you can see the neon yellow really pumped up and some of the browns really pumped down. So let's see here if we can just get this to work a little bit to the west. This way. when you're tilting, it's always easier to take it slow and sit it down and wait a few minutes than it is to say, oh my God, I wish I had not tilted it that far. I wish I had not blown that much paint off the edge. So I like to do it in a couple stages. This one, I'm thinking it will get another tilt just to start bringing it back a little bit in that direction. So let's try that. Okay, so I like what's going on down here. I don't know if you can see that. We're getting some of that yellow oxide color pushing through, which is always kind of cool. We'll get the torch going here, and then I think we're close to calling this one done. And we'll let it dry, and you'll see on the time lapse as I hit it with the torch here and there, but for the most part, I think this one is going to be pretty close to what you see as it is. So again, we are Art by the Lake. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Etsy. You can find us on eBay. You can contact us at artbythelake@gmail.com. If you like this one, I'm not sure we're going to give this one a name just yet. I have to look at it for a little bit and see how it morphs. But ultimately, after it dries in a few weeks, and whether we decide we seal it or don't seal it, this one will be available for sale in the future. So thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends, and please be sure to tune back again and watch us at Art by the Lake. Bye.